Hey, it's Becca and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. So today I'm going back to Voltron once again because for some reason I can never seem to let this show go, and neither can you guys because you guys keep watching. So this morning I watched Ordinary Dreamer and Cooley Does Things do their rewrite of Voltron Legendary Defender, and I'm like, I did that a year ago. That'd be fun to go back and look at mine and see, go and review it, see what I did, see if I like what I did in the rewrite, and if there's anything I would change now. So that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna be reviewing my rewrite. I thought this would be really fun. Yeah, so I'm gonna have my laptop, we're gonna watch it together, and I'm just gonna give you my thoughts on that. So I think it's gonna be really fun, so let's get into it. Alright, so I have my laptop here, and I've got the YouTube video pulled up, so we're just gonna watch it and react to it and kind of just review things. I think it's gonna be really fun. So, alright, here we go. I rewrote Voltron. It took me about a month to actually write because I went into a crazy amount of detail. It was so long. The document ended up being like 30-something pages. Very long. And as I tried to talk about it and film it. Alright, I do want to put out a couple of disclaimers before I do this. I am not saying I can write this better than the original show writers. I am a high school senior. I'm now a college professionals. This is me having fun. This is one big fan fiction, basically. Yes, fan fiction. Yeah. Right, season 1. So season 1 is going to be the season I changed the least, so I did it a little differently than the way I wrote out the other ones. I just did the things that I'm keeping the same from the original show, and the things that I'm switching up. So again, I'm looking down at my laptop for this because it's just too much to remember. So the things from season 1 that are going to be the same. The Kerberos mission opening is going to be the same. I liked that, only it's just going to be Shiro and Matt this time. The first episode is going to be the same, except we're going to split up all of the paladins finding their lions into separate episodes. They're all going to be
good idea.
Each finding a lion is going to be each separate episode instead of just clumped into one longer episode.
That's smart.
The whole thing with them fighting a new monster per episode, that's going to be the same. I really liked the training episode where they're trying to form Voltron. I think that was good, so we're going to keep that one the same.
That episode a lot.
The character dynamics are pretty much going to be the same. Paige is still very focused on finding her brother, and Ulaz is still going to be the Galra soldier that helped Shiro escape. And here are the things that are going to be
why did I pause it?
a little bit different about this season. Lotor is going to be the main villain for the first couple of seasons instead of Zarkon. They're just going to basically switch spots.
That's unfortunate.
So it's going to be Lotor first and then Zarkon afterwards.
Okay, it was unfortunate pausing. No, I think that's a good idea. I like the idea of having Lotor be the first villain, kind of work your way up. I think that they had a good thing going in season 1 and 2 with having Zarkon be the main villain, but I don't know. I'll see what my thought was on this later on, why I decided that this would be a good idea to do later.
So, at a certain point in the first few episodes, Keith and Lance are going to be captured by Lotor. And Lotor is going to mention to Keith that he sees potential in him, something that he hasn't realized yet. So the episode where Hunk finds his lion is going to be combined with the Balmera episode.
Okay.
I want there to be something a clear history between Lotor and Allura, but something that she's just refusing to talk about.
Okay.
The Black Lion is going to be hidden in one of Alfor's secret research labs, and this is where Laura's gonna find some of her father's old notes on Altan alchemy.
Okay.
Lotor is gonna be the one sending all of the beasts to attack Team Voltron, and they aren't gonna be able to form Voltron right away. It's gonna take a while for them to be able to do it. I don't want them to be able to do it in the first episode. Alright.
That's a good idea. I like that Voltron's not gonna form right away. I think that is gonna provide an interesting dynamic. The fact that it's going to take more time, and that's going to allow for more bonding between all of the characters, because they have to form a stronger bond with one another, because the only people that really know each other were Keith and Shiro, they're the only ones that actually really knew each other, and then Lance, Hunk, and Pidge knew each other, but there wasn't any kind of connection between the two, kind of friend groups in Voltron, so it's there's really nothing there that connects the two of them together, and I think that isn't great. There's got to be some sort of connection between all of them before they can fully form Voltron. Just the fact that they were able to do that in the first episode was kind of I don't know how I feel about this. I don't love this. This isn't great. I'm not feeling this, you know? So anyway, let's keep going.
Alright, for this I do have the entire season finale written out, and I'm going to tell you guys that.
Ooh, fun,
I think it's a
fun.
good way to kind of show the vibe of the show. And so a beast that they're fighting, one that hasn't been sent by Lotor, delivers a message saying that they have someone important to one of the paladins, and in order to get them back, they have to turn over the lines.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone other than Pidge is very confused, and they don't go after the monster when it retreats. At this point, Pidge has not really told them why she is in space and what she's like looking for. She's just looking for something.
Okay.
So this is where she explains that her brother went missing on the same Kerberos mission that Shira was a part of. And I don't really want her father to be missing as well. It felt like she was always more focused on Matt. Maybe that's just who she was able to find more information about, but it just felt like she was always more focused on Matt. So we're just gonna stick with that.
Okay.
And this is when Shiro realizes why Pidge always seems so familiar to him. Like, his memory is still kind of like messed up and weird. But Pidge always seemed familiar to him, but he could not pinpoint why.
Yeah, it's
It's
good.
because she looks very similar to Matt.
There it is.
And this is where he remembers Matt.
Da-da-da.
And Pidge's frustration with him throughout the entire season has like finally made sense. So now they're going to form a plan to sneak onto the ship and rescue Matt without turning over the lions.
Okay.
Allura reluctantly will go onto a transport alone and demand to speak to Lotor as a distraction while everyone sneaks on to look for Matt. They don't know that this beast has not been sent by Lotor. They don't know that. We do, but they don't. So they think that he has to be on Lotor's ship, but he's not.
That's a decent assumption,
We're
you
gonna
know.
come back to that. So, when she gets onto the ship, she and Lotor are like arguing, and she's asking like, how could you side with a father after everything that he's done? And Lotor's just like, it's complicated. I'm not gonna get into it.
Okay.
He then asks Allura to join him instead so they could be the duo that they were before. And Allura seems like tempted to, but then she's like able to break out of the restraint she was placed in, and like the two of them fight around the throne room. I think that'd be like a really cool fight to have.
That sounds
So at the same time, at a certain point, Shiro is grabbed and taken into a room by a Galra soldier, who he recognizes as the one who helped him escape. Ulaz asks Shiro why he's here, and Shiro says, like, we're looking for my friend, the one that was, like, captured with me. And Ulaz is, like, super confused, like, there are no Earthling prisoners on here.
Using Zoom.
This is when they realize that they're on the wrong ship. Ulaz then tells Shiro that he needs to, like, get his friends and leave, because he just got a transmission that Sarkhan is coming. Because if they wait any longer, they're not going to be able to leave. They go their separate ways, and Shiro tells the others, like, what happened, and, like, guys, we gotta go. We need to leave, like, right now. And Pidge is like, no, Matt has to be here. We need to find him. But deep down, she has had this feeling that, like, okay, Matt's definitely not here.
Yeah.
Ulaz is able to get Allura out of the throne room and gets her to everybody else so they can leave.
Nice.
And they manage to get back to the castle, and as soon as they do, Zarkon's ship appears in the distance. They start fighting all of the ships that have been sent out, and they're doing okay for a while, but they soon become overwhelmed. And this is when they finally form Voltron for the first time. I want this to be like this epic moment in the season finale. I think it'd be so cool to have that be a much harder goal for them to achieve. And I think this is the perfect moment for that to happen.
Yes, this is great.
But even with Voltron, they're not very experienced with it, so they decide, great, we took out some ships, let's go.
So, thoughts on season 1. I really like this season that I've rewritten, and I think it's a really good way to rewrite this. I think having it be really similar to the original show helps, you know, because it's really established. But I think my favorite part about it is the fact that it takes a really long time for them to be able to form Voltron, you know? I think having that be there and having that kind of like storyline going on where they're struggling to form Voltron and they just can't and they just can't and they just can't, no matter how hard they try, no matter how close they feel as though they've gotten, they still just can't form Voltron, and finally having that kind of culminate together in the end of the first season, I think is great. But also the fact that they're not good at it either, you know? Like, obviously they're not going to form Voltron and all of a sudden just be amazing as Voltron, you know? Like, we saw when they first formed Voltron that they just couldn't, like, fully control themselves the way that they wanted to. So I think having that happen, you know, where it's like, all right, they have more experience in the lines than they did when they first formed Voltron in the show, but they're still not great at it, and I think that that's a really cool thing to include. So I liked that.
Alright, so the first big thing to happen is Hunk decides that he needs to go back to Balmera, and Lance agrees to go with him. They get there, they're fighting the Galra that has like infiltrated the planet, but then another beast shows up and they need to call for backup. And the other team members are like really mad at them for like sneaking off without telling them, And Lance takes the brunt of the anger, saying that it was his idea because he doesn't want, like, them to be mad at Hunk. He's like, nah, it was my idea.
Tension.
Be mad at me.
Team tension.
And this is going to end up leading to a lot more tension between the team later, because this is really going to have an effect on Lance. So Shiro and Keith are also going to have their conversation where Shiro says that he wants Keith to lead the team if anything ever happened to him. A flashback episode where the Paladins talk about their lives before they like went into space or whatever, and there's a couple important things I want to take away from this. Allura and Lotor's families were like super close before the war started, and this is where we're going to introduce Adam as Shiro's long-term boyfriend.
Yes.
And I want to keep the episode where they find like Ulaz and the Bases in the same, as well as finding the Blade of Marmora's base. We're going to keep that one the same as well. And yes, we're going to keep Keith being half Galra thing. Along with Keith being like revealed to be half Galra, the same kind of tension between him and the other team members with like finding this out is gonna be there as well. So due to how they're being treated by the team, Keith and Lance end up pulling away from the other team members, often training together, and like that's gonna really bring out the competitive side of each other, because I think that'd be fun. And
I love it.
Because of all this tension, the team just has not been working well together. This ends up being a problem in a mission where they plan to capture Lotor and take him prisoner. The Blades and Allura are gonna go in, get Lotor, while Voltron acts as a distraction, but Voltron's part of the mission does not go well. They're not working well together. They try and put it aside for like the greater good, but it's not working. They can't. No. Something's wrong with their dynamic, and it's just not. It ends up being almost like causing them to fail. So here's how the season finale is going to go down. There's going to be two very important conversations. The first one's going to be between Lotor and Allura. Lotor's been captured, and now the two of them are talking. Allura confronts him about her doubts, and Lotor is like sticking with his like cold and short answers, really not even answering the questions. He's just kind of like dodging them, like, I'm not talking to you. It goes on for a while. Allura's trying to understand what changed in the last 10,000 years, like, and how Lotor could just side with his father when they both witnessed all of the damage and destruction that he's caused. However, it seems like even Lotor doesn't really know the answer to this question, but he's trying his best not to let her know that. But Allura's smart. She's catching on that something's not quite right with him. She then says something, I'm not really sure what. It could be something that the two of them used to say, a promise that they made, and it like triggers something in Lotor's mind, causing him to shake out of like the cold mentality that he's in. His face then changes into a more scared expression, and he tells her that she needs to help him and that he's being controlled. He doesn't want to do what he's doing, but he has no choice, and that he's being controlled by... His head shakes for a moment, and his expression turns back to the cold one he'd been wearing before, and now he's just refusing to say anything. Allura's left speechless, confused, but slightly relieved because the Lotor that she knew is still in there somewhere.
That's good, though.
She has no idea how to get him back. The second conversation is going to be between the other 5 paladins. They're all very angry with each other about how badly they did in battle, despite the fact that they still succeeded. After everything that's happened in the past few episodes, it's kind of Keith and Lance versus Shiro, Hunk, and Pidge. The latter is kind of blaming the former for pulling away constantly, and if they hadn't done that, they would not have done as badly as they just did in battle. Keith and Lance are arguing that if it wasn't for the way the team had been making them feel throughout the past few weeks, they wouldn't have felt the need to pull away. This idea is dismissed by the others, and I don't really believe that they were ever doing that, and then Lance just goes off. He goes through and lists all of the time the team has made him feel inadequate as a paladin, and just as a person in general. He just, this makes everyone go silent, even Keith, because he and Lance never really got a chance to talk about why they were never really with the others. It was always just the two of them kind of hanging out all the time. They just was like, all right, cool, man, let's like train or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and understandable. They don't
so after this, Lance storms away, followed quickly by Keith. He eventually catches up to him in the control room with Lance looking out into the planet that they're on. They barely get the time to talk about what just happened when Lance sees something in the distance. Lance runs at Keith and tackles him, shielding him from the incoming blast that breaks through the castle, and this is really similar to the scene early on in the show where like Lance saves Superman.
So I really liked this season. I always felt as though there should be more tension between the paladins and the I don't know, there should be more tension between the paladins, and that wasn't fully explored as well, and kind of the way that at least Keith was being treated by the team once they found out he was half Galra. I didn't like that they didn't really explore that much. I wish they'd done more with that, so I really wanted to make sure that got included, that there was really good tension building up between the team members to finally have this kind of fight between them, because I feel like any of the fights the team ever really had was not fully explored very well. Like, it felt just kind of like out of the blue and kind of random, and like it just didn't really seem to fit, I guess, or it just felt like they were fighting for the sake of fighting, you know, like there wasn't really good built up tension behind it. So I really wanted to make sure that was included, and I love this scene because I think Lance being the kind of self-sacrifice type, we see that quite often. We see it when he saves Karan in the kind of like actual scene that I stole this from, basically. We see it when he saves Allura and dies. He literally dies in the show, and they don't talk about it, which I hate that they didn't talk about it, but like, we get that. And yeah, like, I think kind of further exploring that idea with him was really good. So this is one of my favorite scenes that I wrote. I really liked this one. All right, season 3, let's go. Okay.
All right, season 3.
Ooh.
That was quite a good thing. I liked that we're ending.
Really
was.
Really
good way to end season 2. So
season
didn't
3, have like always
we're going
the
to
best
open up
cliffhangers,
right
so
where we
like,
ended.
I want to
Keith waking
include
up
more
and
of
attempting
those.
to take Lance into like one of the medbay pods.
Okay.
They meet up with the others where they end up getting in a fight with Lotor's generals. And like we can have that go down as the fight.
I wish they'd
done
done more with the generals.
Like Lance got hurt.
Seriously,
like,
I
they
wish
give you
they
that
did.
same kind of fight.
Yeah,
and
it was a good fight. I
the
really
bonding
enjoyed it. Bonding moment. It was a good fight, and we have to include the bonding
change
moment.
Up a little
Love
bit
it so
what
much.
Lance does though, because like we are a good team. Like they've been working as a team for like forever. Like we can change it up a little bit. I don't really know what he would say.
True.
But we
Good
can do
point.
that.
Good point.
So afterwards, 2 groups are going to go on missions to get supplies to repair the ship, with Shiro and Pidge going together, and Keith and Hunk going together. On Pidge and Shiro's mission, someone confuses Pidge for Matt, and they give them information about where Matt might be. So this is going to lead to the same episode where she does find Matt. I love that episode so much. The emotion is so
such a good
in it.
episode.
We have to keep it.
It's one of the best in the whole show, by far.
And on Keith and Hunk's mission, this is mostly just going to be them talking about like the issues that like the team has been having and trying to work through that so they can move forward.
I like that. I think they could have a good conversation.
So while
about
all of
that,
this is
and
going
really
on,
good.
Lance finally wakes up from the medbay pod and talks with Allura. He mentions that he would have been very happy to date her at one point, but he values their friendship more and like now, and she agrees. She also talks about how she feels
explored their friendship more. It would have been really fun.
The person that she knew is like still in there.
Yeah.
So after this, everyone meets up again, and we can have them like reconciling after the huge fight that they just had.
They need to do
and
that.
Then we
Though.
can do
They can't just ignore
episodes
it.
of, like them liberating worlds. We can do the same episode with the Alkari and have Pidge truly connect with Green.
Also a very
and
good
we can do the
episode.
same episode where Hunk really connects with Yellow.
Another
as
good
well.
one. Yes.
After this, I want to do the flashback episode where like they explain everything that happened with the war. Instead it's going to be Allura like explaining it instead of Karan. This flashback episode is going to be the same as before, but here are a few like little changes.
It's really not the same as before, but whatever.
Voltron is going to be a myth that they like were told stories about when they were younger. It's not going to be something that Allura built.
I kind of
Allura
like that.
and Lotor grew up as best friends because their families were very close and they always spent time together.
It is
the Paladins alongside
dynamic.
Alfor and Zarkon eventually retire, making way for a new wave. They want to focus on their families rather than constantly going off and fighting and like, saving the world and stuff.
True. Good point.
So when they get new Paladins, Allura and Lotor happen to be 2 of them that are able to connect with the Lions. They connect with Blue and Red. Allura and Blue.
I'm so excited. I love that.
So
I love
that's
that.
not something their parents were expecting at all.
I'm sure.
So an experiment is going to go wrong. Zarkon and Narva go crazy, and they start going after Voltron, destroying every world, like destroying the worlds of each of the Paladins that pilot it as like a way to try and like get them to give Voltron to them.
Okay,
the Paladins decide to sever their bonds with the Lions completely to protect their locations, and Alfor hides them also so they don't know exactly where they are. And after this, Alfor puts Allura, Lotor, and Karan into cryosleep, and that's all Allura remembers. After this, Allura tells everyone else what she told Lance about her feeling about Lotor. They don't really believe her at first, but then they get an unknown transmission, which happens to be from Lotor. He sounds scared and is able to get out that he's being controlled by his mother, and is able to get out like his coordinates before the lion goes dead. Allura wants to go after him, but the others aren't really too sure because they think it's a trap. And here is the season 3 season finale.
Alright, before we do the season finale, I really wanted there to be like history between Lotor and Allura. I thought that having like this kind of like connection between the 2 of them would be like provide a lot of more tension in the show, you know, to like actually have like to provide more stakes, you know? Like obviously there's some sort of connection between like the history between like the Galra and the Alteans in the show, but like I feel like it wasn't really there should have been more to it. And I think having that connection between Lotor and Allura really provides these kind of like stakes, especially for Allura. that weren't explored very well in the original show. Like, obviously there were stakes. Her planet got destroyed, her people got destroyed. Like, okay, understandable, there are stakes, but that wasn't explored very well. So I thought that maybe by having like really personal stakes between, like, now she has to fight her former best friend, there's a little something there, you know, like that can be good. That's good. I like that. So that's why I wanted to do that. Now, let's get into the season finale.
So when they get there, they're surprised to be met with Zarkon's lead ship along with several other large ships. Laura gets the feeling that Lotor has to be on Zarkon's ship, and the others are realizing how out of their league they are, but they're turning back really now. If they don't do this now, there's no telling when they're going to be able to. Laura is able to find Lotor. He's strapped down to a table surrounded by druids and Hagar herself.
Ooh.
It's going well, and at a certain point, Laura is able to do something that is sort of similar to Hagar's magic. It's only light magic. So doing Hagar and taking away her ability to shapeshift, revealing her to be Onerva, Lotor's mom. Hagar is down for the moment, so Laura takes this as an opportunity to get Lotor and leave, and they manage to get back to the castle.
Get out.
At the same time, that wind is going to drive me crazy. At the same time, how many fighters that Voltron has been able to take down, including some of the other larger ships that Zarkon, like, that are part of Zarkon's fleet, Zarkon decides that it's finally time for him to join the fight. Throughout the season, we've seen him and Hagar working on something, and now it's revealed what it actually is.
Nice.
His, like, big mech suit that he uses in the end of season 2.
Okay,
so a small number of blades and rebels have shown up, and they're the ones that are mainly responsible for taking down the bigger ships.
Okay.
So Zarkon... So Voltron can focus their attention on Zarkon.
This is pretty similar to the season 2 fight, I'm pretty sure.
So I want this fight to go very similar to the fight that they had with Zarkon at the end of season 2. However, it's not really going to go as well as that fight did. It starts out okay, but after a while, it's very clear that Voltron is outmatched. Shiro then gets an idea. He knows that they've already done a lot of damage to the Galra, and it's going to take a while for them to come back from this, and being able to do some damage to Zarkon would be, like, ideal. The Black Lion then tells him what needs to be done, and he agrees to it. They try to Zarkon one final time, and Shiro gives some of himself up to the lion, and that extra power that Voltron gets from that is enough to defeat Zarkon for good.
Let's go,
They break apart from Voltron, and they're picked up at the castle, and the others don't realize that Shiro's, like, in a coma until they get back to the Black Lion and find him there.
In a coma,
ending of the season's gonna be the darkest out of all of them, putting them at their lowest point yet, even though they still defeated Zarkon, one of the things they've been working towards since the beginning.
Alright. Okay. Season 4. Oh boy. I think what I was struggling with the original show was the fact that it felt like the whole big fight with Zarkon felt very early, you know? Like, I felt like they should have waited. So that's why I wanted to, like, delay it a season, you know? Okay, great, this is gonna be a season later. Gives us a little more time to get used to the paladins, get familiar with them, and to kind of build up the relationships and all of that stuff. So it really, like, we really felt it when Shiro sacrificed himself. I didn't want it to feel unearned. I wanted it to feel earned, and I wanted it to hurt, and I wanted it to feel like this is really where they're at their lowest, you know? I really wanted that to happen, and I think that by pushing it back one season, all it takes is one more season, you know, they finally had, like, this huge kind of blowout fight between all the paladins, and they've recovered from that, and they're, like, working to build stronger relationships, but it's not quite there. But then Shiro sacrifices himself. Like, it just feels like kind of like this really, like, perfect culmination of everything to really build up to, like, the season finale and the fight there. And I think the fight just fits better there than it would have anywhere else. So I love this. I think this is great. I got no critiques here. This is really good. I feel like I'm not really critiquing anything. I'm just being like, oh, this is good. But, like, I spent so long writing this, so, like, yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah, this is good. Season 4. I like this music.
Alright, season 4. There's gonna be a lot of changes in this season, so be prepared.
Oh, I know.
I want this to be a time skip to several months in the future. And I want to do a little bit of, like, a redesign for the characters, so I drew that. Should be on screen now. Here they are.
Yes, I'm happy. I don't like this anymore.
I don't know. I think it'll be cool.
I don't think anymore.
So,
but
Shiro's in a coma, his vitals are fine, but there's no sign that he's going to wake up anytime soon. Lotor's also been, like, very helpful in, like, giving them information on how to liberate certain worlds.
He is allowed
Love
to move
that.
around the castle, but he has to stay on the castle. Like, that's their deal.
Okay, that's
So after a new threat from Hagar
pretty
emerges,
smart.
they're forced to do the lion switch. None of them had like touched the black lion. They didn't want to because they didn't need to. They were doing okay with the 4 lions they already had. But now we're gonna do the lion switch.
Did keep the lion
And
switch.
also, we're gonna have them switch suits so they match the lion they're piloting.
Ew.
Why they didn't
Thank
do
you.
this in the original show,
You're so squeaky.
I don't know. But
I
I
don't
need this
either.
for my sanity. I need to see
Me
this.
too.
So we're gonna
Me
do
too.
this.
Yes.
So after the battle, Keith talks with Shiro and mentions that he feels like he isn't ready to lead and he just doesn't think he can do it.
Talks with Shiro.
After this, he like storms away and starts training very angrily, only to be stopped by Lance not long after. Lance tells him that like, it's fine, you're gonna do fine. And that there's been moments where Keith has like led the team before, like little small moments,
Yes.
and
Needs
I
to be
want
included.
people to
Has
take
to
away
have
that they're clearly their dynamic has changed. They're not
Yes.
rivals anymore. They're like actually really good friends.
Yes.
So yeah, I want that to show
Need
that they've
that.
moved past like the rivalry. I want to do a training episode with Keith, Lance, and Alora for them to become more comfortable with flying their lions. This isn't going to have them like truly
Think
establish their bond with the
definitely
lions, just so that they're comfortable
needs to happen,
like working
you
fully
know.
as a team again. The
Yes.
next episode is going to be the Monsters and Mana episode with Keith taking Shiro's place in the game. That's such a fun episode.
I love that
we have to
episode.
include it. I had to have it in my rewrite.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Alora and Lotor
Such a
finally
good
get a chance to
episode.
talk about everything that's happened, and Alora asks him about the burst of magic that she was able to do while she was fighting Hagar. Lotor says that he thinks it might be
Surprised it
alternative
didn't happen
alchemy,
until now, but
and
like,
Alora
alright,
then
whatever.
remembers the notes that she took from her father's lab, and the two of them work
Ooh.
on like growing and perfecting her skills over the next few episodes. Keith
Fun.
also is gonna get a chance to talk to Lotor about what Lotor meant when he had captured Keith like very early on in the show.
I'm not bad.
And Lotor says that he could tell that Keith
yes.
was like him, basically half Galra, same as his generals. He then offers Keith a chance to join him and his generals after all of this is over and be with people like him. Keith doesn't turn down the offer, but he doesn't accept it either. The next episode is going to be like this Mindscape type episode, like a more different psychological attack from Hagar. The Paladins have to work through their darkest memories, coming out stronger and more bonded afterwards as a result.
Okay. I really wanted to show that Hagar was a different type of villain than Lotor and Zarkon were. They were very much kind of, brute strength or kind of physically going after Voltron or things that Voltron cares about. And like Hagar is different because she has her magic, and like I thought that by doing like a different type of like attack on them, by doing the psychological, it'd be like a cool way to show that this isn't really something that they've dealt with before. This is something that they're not like really prepared to deal with. And I just thought that'd be really cool. So alright, let's see how this attack is gonna go.
They have to fight a beast at the end of this episode, and this is where they finally form Voltron as a new unit. The next few episodes are going to be Keith, Lance, and Alora like really bonding with their lions. You can come up with what you think would really push them to bond with their lions, but that's what I think this will be a good time for them to do that. Alright, so Alora is going to come across some spell from one of her father's old notes, an awakening spell, and she wants to try it on Shiro. It takes a while, but with some encouragement, she finally gets it, and Shiro wakes up. And this process can turn his hair white if you want him to have a redesign too, or if you liked that design.
Okay, so I think one thing that I want to make sure is included is I definitely want to have some scenes of her training with her magic, probably with Lotor, and Lotor's like helping her. That way it like really makes sense, that she's able to like do this kind of thing. It's not just kind of out of the blue. And I think that having training scenes like that is super beneficial. I think that that's important to have. So I want to make sure that's included. So that's one thing I would add to this.
So Keith finally gets to have a conversation with Shiro about his place on the team, and that he'd be happy to give Black back to Shiro if that's what he wanted. Keith says Shiro says that's the opposite of what he wants. That he's really proud of what Keith has been able to accomplish while he's been gone. So, because Alora's been like working with her alchemy and she's getting really good at it, Shiro's back, they're like, alright, let's do this, let's take Hagar down.
Yes, let's go.
And they start to form a plan to go after Hagar with the help of the Blades and the Rebels. Before they carry out the plan though, Pigeon Hunt go on a recruiting mission to get help from all of the worlds that they've like helped liberate, and it's gonna be like a fun callback episode. So now they have a plan and they're ready to carry it out. Just before they're about to leave, Lance stops in to talk with Keith. This can be really similar to the conversation they had in season 3. It's gonna be a little different conversation though, but same vibe.
A little different.
Lance is saying that he's not really sure how this whole thing is gonna turn out, and if the plan's gonna work, and if they're gonna defeat Hagar or not, or whatever, and he's rambling, and Keith just stops him, like, dude, get to the point. Lance then says if something goes wrong and I don't make it back from this, he wants Keith to know how he feels, and that for a while now he's liked him as more than a friend, and he really just wants him to know, even if he doesn't feel the same way, and it's totally fine if he doesn't feel the same way, and he's like rambling again. Keith then grabs his hand, telling him to stop talking for once, and says that he's been feeling the same kind of way for a while, but he's really scared because he's never really felt this way about anyone before. And he also has like issues with like opening up to somebody, because everybody that he's ever like been close to has either died or like left him.
Yes.
So he does say that he wants to take it slow and maybe work out what this means for them after all this is over, and Lance agrees, and then they go their separate ways, getting ready for hopefully their last mission. Alrighty, it's time to get to the season finale. I'm so excited for this one. It's a little long, but it's good.
It's a little long.
So look, I don't really know how to write fight scenes, but here are a few important things that I think need to be included in the fight. I want to see some sort of upgrade to Voltron now that all the paladins have really established a strong bond with their lions. I want Hagar to somehow get control over Lotor again, and now that he's close to her. Like, they hadn't really been in the same like vicinity as Hagar since like the big fight with Zarkon, so now she's able to like regain control over Lotor.
Okay, great.
And we can have him fight with Shiro, which has a lot of tension between it, because Shiro was tortured by Lotor when he was a prisoner. However, he knows that Laura really cares about him, and he trusts her, so he's making sure that his attacks aren't like really gonna hurt Lotor, just like slow him down and stop him.
Yeah,
I also want there to be some
okay, so obviously there's some underlying tension between Shiro and Lotor, so obviously the fight's gonna be kind of like emotionally charged from that. But also, Shiro's been given time to kind of see that Lotor is not the like person that he was when Shiro was captured by him originally, and like that is gonna like it's gonna like I feel like it's gonna cause some sort of like confusion, or like this is really gonna add to the tension of this fight and make the fight meaningful. You know, it's not just a fight to give Shiro something to do now that he doesn't have a lion. It's really gonna add to his character and add to Lotor's character. And I think this is gonna be I think this is really good. I love that. I think that's great. So I want to include that for sure. I love that fight.
Casualties of people that we've met before, maybe a couple blades whose name we know, just to show that like this is really big, this is important, and this is going to like, solidify the impact that this war has. I also want there to be a point where the paladins aren't fighting in their lions, so we can see more hand-to-hand combat. Lotor's generals have sided with Hagar. They're all like taking on the paladins, while Allura fights Hagar, and we can finally see the full extent to Allura's work with Altean alchemy. And for fun, maybe we can give the paladins some upgrades to their bayards. So Lance is gonna get his sword. I want him to have his sword so bad.
Me too.
And maybe it's gonna be because he now has a stronger bond with Keith. You know how like in Harry Potter how Tonks's Patronus changed to a wolf after she got with Remus? It's gonna be like that kind of thing. And this one, I'm not really sure about it, but I think it'd be really cool if Keith got some sort of like double sword, like really similar to like Zuko from Avatar. And this is gonna be the fight where he gets his like scar on his cheek. Like if you want that, we can do that. And for Hunk's upgrade, it could be like the same kind of like turret guns that he got before, like to provide support for everybody throughout the battle. And I have no justification for this, but I really get a twin dagger vibe from Pidge, and I think that'd be a really cool new way of combat for her.
Love that.
And for Allura, I think her whip could get like supercharged or something. I don't really want to do too much for her because she already has like that alchemy. Alright, here's how I think the fight is going to end. Hagar is going to set something off that is going to completely decimate the entire Voltron coalition if it isn't stopped in time. This is where Allura is going to need to use what she's learned from the alchemy. However, it's going to take all the paladins lending some of their strength in order to do so, which is only possible due to their connection to Voltron. We've seen this before with Shiro, like giving himself, like some of himself up to the Black Lion to help defeat Zarkon, but because it's all 5 of them this time, it's not gonna do any permanent damage to either one, like any of them.
Okay, that makes sense.
So in the end, they stop whatever's going to happen, and they use that combined strength to capture Hagar. They learn that the generals only join Hagar's side because they think they were betrayed by Lotor, but once they learn that he was like brainwashed, they're willing to put that aside and help out where they're needed. After everything that's happened, they hold a funeral for all of the lives that were lost, and this will lead to like a party, I think like Return of the Jedi, like the end of that. And at this party, I want to see a Clance kiss, and I want to see Keith kiss Lance, because I think that'd be great, and I think that we are robbed of this couple. I think, to me, they were the best couple that could have happened in the show. So
They were,
that's why I'm including it. Alright, I want to do like an epilogue episode type thing, like the final episode can be like catching up with everybody. Like, you know how they had like the final like few minutes of the last episode like to catch up with everybody? I wanted like a full episode like that to be like the final episode. It'd be really cool.
Yeah,
So after this, we're gonna flash forward a few years into the future. Shiro has reunited with Adam. They're married now, and Shiro is a high-ranking garrison officer that has been leading the effort in modernizing Earth's technology, alongside with like Karan and some of the Alkari. Hung has become one of the leaders of the Voltron Coalition, working out peace treaties and settling disputes across the galaxy. Pidge and Matt have been working together throughout the galaxy to help advance the technologies of each world they come across, and just learning more about all the different worlds. Allura and Lotor have worked together to establish memorials for all of the worlds that were destroyed by the Galra, and preserving the cultures of those worlds, as well as educating people on them, but they're still very active within the Coalition. As for King and Lance, they've been traveling the galaxy together, having fun, but helping out where they can, just really enjoying their time together. They've also been the ones that have been leading the effort in taking down rogue sections of the Galra Empire that still remain. I think the whole idea of them getting together for like a dinner or something is a really good idea. Only Allura and Lotor are gonna be there, because I refuse to kill both of them off. They're not dying.
No.
They all get a chance to talk about their lives, and it's really fun, and it's gonna be like the same fun dynamic that we've gotten used to with everybody. And it's just a fun ending. It's just wrapping up everyone's stories.
No, I think that was really good. I really liked that. I think it really provides the stakes. I think if we have Hagar have a more integral role throughout the entire show, it'll make sense for her to be the final villain, you know? And I like that her attacks are gonna be like different, you know? Like, she's gonna have like a different approach to defeating Voltron than both Lotor and Zarkon did. So I like that kind of idea. I think that's really cool. Definitely want to include that. Overall, I loved this. This was so fun to do. I love being able to go back and watch that, because I spent a really long time writing this rewrite, because I wrote like a really long document, which if you guys want to read that, it's in the description of the other video. So then when I realized that was kind of unrealistic for me to read all of that, I like had to shorten it down to this, but like I spent so much time on this, and I love that this is one of my most popular videos. I love that you guys seem to like this as much as I do, and I think that this was really fun to go back and look at. And yeah, Voltron had a ton of potential to be such a good show, and it was completely wasted. It was so completely wasted on things that didn't matter, that weren't important to the story, but here we are, we still, whatever. I wish they'd done more of it, but can't really do that now. It's been 3 years and I'm still talking about it, so yeah, whatever. This was really fun. Yeah, so if you guys have any thoughts on the rewrite, if there's anything that you guys would have added to it or that you think would have been important to include, please let me know in the comments. Yeah, and if you want to read the full original rewrite, it's in the description of the other video, which I'll put the link to that in the description of this one. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of review. If you want me to kind of review some of my old videos like this, if you have any other ones, let me know as well. So yeah, that's gonna be it, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!